You think you know the ocean, but here's something nobody told you. Some of the animals living in that ocean are running on a completely different set of rules. Rules that evolution wrote, ripped up, and rewrote 100 times over millions of years. And the results? They're strange, they're violent, they're almost impossible to believe. And one of them, the last one on our list today, has already invaded half the planet's oceans, and scientists still don't know how to stop it. Today, on Nature's Errors, we're counting down 3 sea creatures that prove nature does exactly what it wants and doesn't care how confused it makes the rest of us. We've got a fish that can dream, a fish that will attack a scuba diver, and a beautiful killer spreading through the world's oceans like wildfire. Let's go. Let's start with a question. Can a fish dream? Science says probably not. Fish don't have the brain structure for it. That's the accepted answer. That's the expectation. But then scientists started studying the cuttlefish, and what they found broke the expectation completely. A cuttlefish, specifically Sepia officinalis, which we'll just call the sepia, goes through a sleep-like state at night. During that state, its arms twitch, its eyes move rapidly beneath their lids, and its skin pulses and flashes with color patterns at high speed, as if it's reliving something or imagining something. The patterns change too fast and too vividly to be anything but vivid mental activity, just like humans in REM sleep. Nobody is saying for certain that the sepia dreams, but nobody can say it doesn't. Soon you'll realize almost everything about it is like that, just beyond the boundary of what seems possible. The sepia is not technically a fish, first of all. It's a cephalopod, a cousin to the squid and the octopus. But what makes it special, even in that already extraordinary family, is its relationship with color, deception, and intelligence. Look at its body. The sepia has 3 layers of specialized cells in its skin. Chromatophores, which are tiny sacs of pigment that expand and contract, leucophores, which scatter light, and iridophores, which reflect it. Together, these 3 layers give the sepia the ability to change color, pattern, and even the texture of its skin in less than a second. You are watching a skin that can become any surface it touches: sand, rock, coral, the shadow under a reef ledge. And here is the detail that genuinely stops scientists. The sepia is colorblind. It sees in black and white. Its eyes have only 1 type of cone cell. Humans have 3. And yet, it can produce a perfect color match to whatever background it lands on. Researchers believe it may be using the unusual shape of its pupil, that strange W shape that almost no other creature has, to detect wavelengths of light through a process called chromatic aberration. It's essentially using the optics of its own eye like a spectrometer. It may be computing color mathematically without ever actually seeing it. Male sepias, especially the smaller ones, use this ability to trick rival males. When a larger male is nearby competing for a female, a smaller male will split his body in half, literally showing a male color pattern on one side toward his rival and a female color pattern on the other side toward the female he is courting. He is lying with his own skin. He is running 2 completely different signals at the same time from 2 sides of his body, aimed at 2 different individuals. When threatened, the sepia can also shoot ink into the water. This isn't just a smokescreen. The ink has a chemical in it that dulls the predator's sense of smell, disorienting it completely. The sepia escapes while its attacker is standing confused in a cloud of black, unable to smell, unable to track. The sepia's eggs are interesting too. Before they're laid, the mother coats them in ink, turning them dark like tiny black grapes, camouflaged before they've even hatched. And inside those eggs, something remarkable is already happening. A baby sepia can begin changing its skin patterns from inside the egg while still in the membrane. It is practicing its deception before it is even born. The sepia lives only about 1 to 2 years. It breeds once, and after spawning, both the male and female die. For an animal this intelligent, this capable, this strange, 2 years is pretty short. One fun fact, you know the color sepia, the warm brownish tone of old photographs? That color is named after this animal. The ink from a cuttlefish was used as a dye and a pigment for centuries. The word sepia in both Latin and Greek simply meant this creature, and the color became so linked to it that when photography arrived, the faded tone of early prints was named after the same ink. There is a fish on coral reefs that will charge at scuba divers. Not in confusion, not by accident. It will identify you as a threat, choose to engage, and come at you with teeth bared. Actual underwater aggression directed at human beings. And if you try to escape by swimming straight up and away from it, that is the exact wrong move. That is the one thing that will guarantee it keeps coming after you. Welcome the blue triggerfish, or Pseudobalistis fuscus, lives in the reefs of the Indo-Pacific. It's a striking animal. As a juvenile, it's plain, tan, covered with dark wavy lines, but as it grows into an adult, those lines transform into something extraordinary, a complex web of brilliant electric blue lines across its entire body, glowing against a dark base, like a reef that learned to wear lightning. It is beautiful, and it is one of the most territorial fish in the ocean. The name triggerfish itself comes from the mechanics of the fish's body. On its back, it has a large, sharp dorsal spine. That spine can be locked upright by a second, smaller spine, a trigger spine. Once that mechanism is engaged, the triggerfish is essentially anchored. If it ducks into a crevice in the reef and locks that spine, you cannot pull it out. It wedges itself in so tight with that spike extended that a predator simply cannot swallow it or extract it. It has turned its own body into a trap. Now, the aggression. When a blue triggerfish builds a nest and lays eggs, its territorial defense becomes extreme. The female stays near the eggs, the male patrols above. Their territory extends upward from the nest like an inverted cone, reaching all the way to the surface of the water. This is important. Any creature, any fish, any diver, any animal that enters that cone is considered a threat. They do not warn, they charge. Triggerfish have 8 strong teeth, 4 on top, 4 on the bottom. These are not decorative. They use those teeth to flip sea urchins over, the only way to reach the softer, less spined underside, and crack through the shell. They eat creatures that most fish would refuse to touch. The same teeth that split a sea urchin shell can absolutely put a dent in a wetsuit or an arm. This is why the escape rule matters. If you encounter a nesting triggerfish and you try to escape by swimming upward, you are still inside its cone. You are going deeper into its territory. Swim sideways. Swim horizontally. Exit the cone from the side. That is the only safe retreat. The blue triggerfish is also a fascinating parent in ways beyond just its aggression. Both males and females participate in building the nest before spawning. They blow jets of water from their mouths onto the sandy seafloor, moving debris, excavating a shallow crater. They bump bellies, they touch fins. This courtship and nest-building behavior shows a level of deliberate coordination you don't expect from a fish. After the eggs are laid, The female blows oxygenated water over them to help them breathe. She is actively ventilating the eggs. The male guards from above. They do this in shifts. The aggression during this phase is not random territorial anger, it is dedicated parenting. One more strange fact about this family: many triggerfish species time their spawning to the lunar cycle. They lay their eggs 2 to 6 days before a full moon, or 3 to 5 days before a new moon, timed precisely to the tidal rhythm so that currents carry the fertilized eggs as widely as possible. They are reading the moon, and they are adjusting their family planning accordingly. The reef is their territory. We are just visiting. We have saved something alarming for the end. Not alarming because it's scary to look at, though it is a striking creature, covered in dramatic red and white bands, trailing long feathered fins like a creature from a Japanese woodblock print. It's alarming because of what it is doing to the world right now, at this moment, as you watch this. The lionfish, specifically the species known as Pterois miles, sometimes called the devil firefish or the blue sea lionfish, is one of the most successful biological invaders in the history of marine science. It has taken over ecosystems that it has no right to be in, and it did it faster than scientists thought possible. Let's start with what it is. The lionfish is native to the Indo-Pacific, from the Red Sea and East Africa across to Indonesia and the Pacific. In its home waters, it's a beautiful ambush predator. It tucks itself under ledges and in crevices during the day and emerges at dusk to hunt. It uses its huge fan-like pectoral fins to slowly corner small fish against the reef, hurting them, and then strikes in 0.07 of a second, faster than most human reflexes can process. The strike happens from detection to capture in 0.07 seconds. It carries 18 venomous spines, 13 along the dorsal fin, 2 at the front of each pelvic fin, 1 at the front of the anal fin. The venom causes extreme pain, sweating, respiratory distress, and in rare cases, paralysis. It is not usually fatal to a healthy adult human, but it is serious enough to require immediate medical attention. A lionfish does not use these spines to attack. It displays them as warning. This kind of coloration, bold, unmistakable, dangerous-looking, is called aposematic coloration. It is the animal world's way of saying, I know you can see me, I want you to see me, and I want you to know what happens if you touch me. In its native range, this works. Predators have learned over thousands of years what that warning means. Groupers, moray eels, sharks, they know to be cautious around the lionfish. But in 1985, a lionfish showed up off the coast of Florida. It had no business being there. It was somewhere no lionfish had ever been, and nobody knew what it was doing there. The most likely explanation is that it escaped from or was released by home aquariums. The fish that showed up in Florida in 1985 encountered something it had never faced before: prey that had no idea it was dangerous. In the Indo-Pacific, reef fish have co-evolved with lionfish over millennia. They recognize the shape, the fins, the coloration. They avoid it. In the Atlantic and Caribbean, no such adaptation existed. Fish that had never encountered a lionfish did not know to flee. They would swim right up to one, and the lionfish, patiently, methodically, efficiently, herded them and ate them. A mature female lionfish can release up to 2 million eggs per year, not in a single spawn, in batches, every few days, all year round. She releases 2 mucus-filled egg clusters, each containing thousands of eggs, and they drift in the currents. There are no natural predators in the Atlantic that recognize or eat them in significant numbers. The population exploded. By the 2000s, sightings began increasing exponentially, By 2010, lionfish had spread through the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, up the eastern seaboard of the United States, and later through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean Sea, where Pityrois miles is now establishing itself in waters it has no historical connection to. Scientists have documented lionfish reducing the populations of native reef fish in invaded areas by up to 65% in some locations. They eat juvenile snapper, grouper, parrotfish. Parrotfish are the reef's janitors. They eat algae and keep the coral healthy. When the parrotfish disappear, algae takes over, and the coral suffocates. Experts say it is probably impossible to fully remove lionfish from the western Atlantic now. The invasion is too widespread, the breeding too fast, the habitat too vast. The strategy has shifted from elimination to management. Targeted removals in priority areas, research into how to encourage native predators to start recognizing and eating them, and in some places, actively promoting lionfish as a food fish to create commercial fishing demand. Lionfish, by the way, is delicious, firm, white, clean-tasting. Many Caribbean restaurants now serve it. Some conservation groups have made eating lionfish a public campaign. The only way to fight this invasion is to eat your way through it.
The lionfish did not plan any of this. It does not have the intelligence of the cuttlefish or the strategic partnership of the moray and the grouper. It simply exists. It simply does what it evolved to do: hunt, breed, endure. And in a world where human beings moved it out of the waters where it belonged and dropped it into waters where nothing knew what it was, simply existing turned out to be enough to change entire ecosystems. A beautiful animal in the wrong place doing exactly what it was designed to do. That is the most frightening story in this entire video. 3 creatures. 3 sets of rules that nature wrote and broke and rewrote on its own terms. The cuttlefish that may dream, matching colors it cannot see with an eye shaped like a W. The blue triggerfish that reads the moon, builds its nest, and will charge at you if you swim into its territory. And the lionfish, spreading, breeding, winning. The ocean is not what you thought it was. It's weirder, it's stranger, it's running on principles that would take several lifetimes to fully understand. And we've barely started. This is Nature's Errors. We'll see you in the next one.